Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the DC show. This is T McNeil. Today is Thursday. Let's talk some tech gaming news. So guys, do you remember the Motorola Razr back in the early 2000s? Well, there's some reports going around right now about the fact that they're trying to bring the Motorola Razr back from the dead, so to speak. It's supposed to have up-to-date specs and features, just like today's smartphones. And I just want to know how you guys actually feel about that. Is this one of those things that should have stayed in the past, or do you guys actually like the fact that Motorola is trying to bring the Razr back for today's standards and updates? Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, I really think that possibly this should have stayed dead. I mean, Motorola Razr had its time. It was in the era when right before the smartphone really took off, so it should just stay in the past. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of the information and then we'll go from there. All right. So it does say that the 2019 Motorola Razr is looking to be an enticing mix of futuristic folding phone and the iconic phone design of the early 2000s. And now we might have the phone's logo, price, and information on its specs, which may not be what you are expecting. Now, according to the source, it actually says that it gives the 2019 Motorola Razr a Snapdragon 710 processor, accompanied by, looks like, about 120 gigabytes of storage and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, now there's now information right now on the battery, but these are the specs that they're trying to come up with for the Motorola Razr. So on par, it's not as powerful as some of the smartphones that we have on the market today. I think it can compete, but the only question I have is, well, actually I have two questions, but who is this phone actually for, and who is the phone's biggest competition? Because like I said, it doesn't really compare to what we have today. It's kind of on the lower end spec type of phone. So we just have to wait and see, once Motorola actually releases this thing, and then we can, go from there and get more information as it becomes available. Now, actually, let me make a small correction on the battery information. Now, actually, as far as the battery is concerned, it is fairly small, and they do have it at about 2730 milliamperage, but the XDA developer speculates that the phone might feature 27-watt turbo charging power, as seen in the Moto G7. So, is that really something that's needed? Is it really that important? I'm not really sure. To me, what I think the developers should have done is just made a bigger battery. I mean, that just would have made more sense to me, especially if you want to be in competition with the likes of, Samsung and Apple and Huawei and, big phone companies like that. Just make a bigger battery, okay? So again, it's a small battery, so that a lot of the power from the phone draws from this battery, and there's a lot of heavy smartphone users out here, so them trying to use that phone, the battery's not even going to last a full day. Probably by half of the day, that battery's going to be at about 20-30%, and then you're right back charging the phone. So again, I don't know who this phone is for, but let's continue. Now, further information does speculate that the 6.2-inch vertically folding screen has a resolution of 2142 by 876, while the exterior screen is an 800 by 600 display of an unknown size. There's no information about the cameras at this point either, although previous images suggest that the presence of a single rear-facing camera. So I do like the fact that it does have a 6.2-inch screen. It does have that 2142 by 876 resolution, which is extremely high. It's right along the edges of, like, say, a Super AMOLED display. But then, I kind of forgot about the fact that with the old school Razr that they did have that screen on the outside as well, and that's only 800 by 600. So it's on a lower resolution. I guess the whole point of it is, you only use that outer screen if you want to just check, some things like necessary information and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, there's really no point of having the double screen. So we'll go take it with a grain of salt. Now, in comparison to the Samsung Galaxy Fold and the Huawei Mate X, the Razr's a lot less powerful. The Galaxy Fold and Mate X both use a top-of-the-line processor, which one is a Snapdragon 855 for the Fold and a Kirin 980 for the Mate X, with larger amounts of RAM and storage too. And finally, the Razr is expected to cost around $1,500 according to previous reports. That's nearly $500 less than the Galaxy Fold, but it remains to be seen if Motorola can provide the right combination of cool factor and performance to undercut its foldable phone rivals. So you guys let me know down below in the comment section how y'all feel about the information. To me, that is completely ridiculous that a phone from the early 2000s is making its big comeback this year in 2019, and the freaking thing costs $1,500. You know, these phone companies are really losing their mind. And, you know, the thing is, we all got on Apple about the fact that the iPhone XS and the XS Max was super expensive, one being at $1,000, the other one being roughly around $1,200 to $1,500 for that particular phone. Okay, now we have old school phones. We have this new Galaxy Fold that's coming out, which I'm not even sure exactly, as far as the market is concerned, who that phone is targeted for, because I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board with that as well, because it just doesn't seem ergonomically correct, and it doesn't seem like it's something that most people will even need, especially at this point in time. Okay, so something that's $1,500 is just ridiculous. And, you know, good luck trying to get that phone and trying to finance it, you know, because you're going to pay for a phone like that, especially with financing, at least I say 3 to 4 years. And by that time, you're going to be so far behind in technology, because at the end of the day, these big phone companies, they're going to release more and more devices, and, you know, you're never going to be able to play catch up. Okay, so you guys let me know how y'all feel about it. Is this Motorola Razr for you, or do you guys prefer the traditional smartphones? You know, again, I'm not sure who the Razr is actually for, unless you're one of those nostalgic people that had a Razr, you know, back in the day, and you just want to, you know, have that nostalgic feel again with updated specs. Other than that, I don't really see the point of getting it, but you guys let me know how y'all feel about the information. All right, also make sure that you like and share this content. I would definitely appreciate that. Also, if you enjoy the content, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and do not forget to tap the bell symbol so that you receive notifications when the DC Show puts up new content. So I appreciate you watching and listening and tuning in. Until the next time, have a good one.